Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well. Welcome back to tonight's second half. Before we jump into the second half, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost you a cent. Click that like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss any of the informative and exciting uploads I put out twice daily, click that bell icon. And finally, last but definitely not least, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And guys, they definitely matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with tonight's second half, shall we? Alright guys, so since Victor has appeared on the channel, there had been people for the last 2.5 years, I'd say, saying, he doesn't exist. There's no way possible that, he would come on your channel and share this information. Because when he contacted me, I had less than 10,000 subscribers. I think I had like 8,000 subs, to be honest with you. And I don't know why he chose the channel. He said, because I seemed honest. I honestly do not know. So during that time, there has been numerous reasons why I believe wholeheartedly he is who he says he is. First and foremost, the emails. Those of you who have been with the channel, I have shown them, and there is no way to duplicate or create a email from CIA.gov. You just cannot do it. It's impossible to do. Also, the Luke incident, when Luke pled for help and Victor said, give me his coordinates. A day later, there was people at Luke's in Taylor, Mississippi helping him. And then a subscriber, actually before Victor came on, there was a subscriber out of Colorado, a police officer, who had reached out to me. And during his horrifying encounters with Dogman, he had met a Southern gentleman that worked for an agency very similar to what Victor has described his agency to be. So that's proof enough for me. And here is an encounter that really does, to me, prove that he is who he says he is. Hello, Jeffrey. I wanted to start by telling you that I've followed and subscribed to your channel for about the last year now. Memories of my encounter a little over 16 years ago have stirred up from the ambulance encounter you have shared. I was also contacted recently by a government agency and given the all clear to move back home when I'm ready. This will become more clear in telling of my story. Also to note, Robert is not my real name, and this is a junk email, as I still work in the government service and do not want to be identified. Back in the fall of 2003, I was working as a sheriff's department deputy, approximately 75 miles west of Denver, Colorado. I was young, new, fresh off the field training, and almost off probation. It was late afternoon, and I was dispatched to a call about a bear outside of a caller's home. I acknowledged the call and traveled to the location. I was less than 5 minutes out. A minute before arriving, I was called over the radio that a bear is now outside of another home, but this one was 2 miles away. I thought, that is odd that bear covered that much ground in that short a period of time. Backup was 15 minutes out, as there were only 4 deputies, including myself, on shift. I rerouted myself to the new call as the person on the phone said it was outside of their home at this time. Upon my arrival, I had pulled out my department-issued Remington 870. This one was a loaner, as it was the supervisor's 14-inch barrel model. I ejected 1 round of buckshot and loaded a Spear 1-ounce high-brass slug into the chamber, followed by 2 more into the tube. My last 2 shots would be the standard-issue Federal Premium Copper-Coated double-aught buck. I knocked on the door, and a woman in her mid-30s answered. She was shaken and told me that a bear was outside of her rear window in the house. She saw the back of its head and one eye poking in, looking inside of her house. She said that when she noticed it, it moved away from the windows, growled, and hit/scratched the house. She wanted me to check the area out and make sure it was gone, as her 2 kids would be returning home from school. I had maybe an hour of daylight left. I radioed to backup that I would check the area behind the house for the bear. Backup deputy number 1 was 5 to 7 minutes out from me. Backup deputy number 2 went to the other house for the first call. This was due to the first caller getting more scared and wanting a deputy. Walking my way to the backyard, I looked at the window where the homeowner said it was when she saw it. The window was almost 6 feet up from where I was standing. I thought to myself, that had to be a pretty big bear. I also noticed scratches on the siding of the home at the bottom of the window. They were pretty deep in 5 lines running from 1 to 7. I then made my way to the wood line past her backyard, walked straight into the woods, and came upon a small creek. The banks of the creek were several feet wide, the water running through. It was approximately 10 feet wide, 6 to 8 inches deep. The bank of the creek rised approximately 3 feet on both sides. Following the creek about 50 yards into the forest, I saw a large, brown, furry animal walking away from me on all 4s. At this time, I clicked off the safety to the shotgun. I was walking along the dry bank of the creek and trying to make my way up to firmer ground. But the bushes along the high portion of the creek blocked me. I then moved my way towards a large tree along the bank. Just past it was an opening to higher ground. When I got to the tree, I switched the shotgun to my left hand and used my right to grab onto the tree. The animal heard me, turned towards me, stood up. I then thought to myself that this was no bear. Just then, a huge face of a wolf creature appeared literally a foot away from mine, from the brush by the tree. I was screwed. This was like the scene out of Jurassic Park where the raptor surprises the hunter from the side and kills him. I did the only thing I could think and let go of the tree and fall into the bank below, just to create some space. The creature was too fast and grabbed my right arm and held me in place. Its massive hand covered 3/4 of my forearm, and I felt a searing hot pain from one of the claws, which was penetrating my department coat, digging into the inside of my forearm. The creature looked into my eyes, grinned, and growled, or laughed, as it was the oddest growl I'd ever heard. I used all of the strength in my left hand and wrenched the shotgun around to point it at the creature and pulled the trigger. I don't think the creature saw the shotgun until it was too late. I nailed him right in the upper stomach. I was released and fell to the creek bed. I had an unusually soft landing, or just didn't feel anything at the time. I switched the shotgun to my right hand, racked it, and fired at the only thing I could see, its head. I saw a jawbone fly, and then it went quiet. I immediately remembered the other creature up the bank, turned and saw 3 more standing 35 yards away. I racked the last slug into the chamber and fired at them. My round glanced the center creature's ribs. It let out a yelp, I fired the last 2 rounds of buck. I know the spread hit all of them. They all darted up the opposite side of the creek from me and out of sight. I unholstered my Glock 21 and fired another 6 rounds at one of the creatures when it returned to the creek bank. It then ran back into the woods. Both other deputies heard the shots and came to my aid. I needed 6 stitches to close the cut on my forearm. Every off-duty deputy was called in to look for 3 more bears, but nothing was found. The one body on the scene was guarded by the sheriff and his major. Feds showed up from Denver in about an hour. I was asked a lot of questions and multiple times if I was bit. I also had my blood drawn 3 times over the next 3 days. I was told checking for rabies, which I know they weren't looking for that. At the medical center, after getting stitched up and cleaned up, Agent Bob, in his thick southern accent, came to me and told me that he was impressed that I didn't die from coming against 4 bear, and that the one I had killed was a large one. He gave me a handwritten card with his number on it, told me to call him if I saw any more bear. I asked him if I should stock up on silver. Kind of tongue-in-cheek move on my part. I know what you are talking about. To my shock, he said that wouldn't be a bad idea, but the slug to the head just seemed to work. The sheriff came in and told me he was giving me a commendation for protecting the public from a crazed bear, and to take the next 6 weeks off with pay to heal from my injury. Jeff, I have more to this, a part 2 of sort. If you want to hear about it, let me know as the 3 other dogmen come back for me at my house on my time off. If not, just let me know. I don't want to bother you with dumb stuff. Hey Jeff, I'm following up on your email to me. I wanted to hear back from you before I may have wasted any of my time writing out this book. I'm glad you are taking me serious, and thank you for that, as I've been holding on to this for quite some time now. Please feel free to correct any grammar errors, as I get emotional and shaky whenever I write this or talk about this. I want to follow up on a few things from my first part. First, the dogman that grabbed me is described as all black with shades of gray mixed in the coat. The eyes were a pure gold with small circular wisps of black. There was no eyeshine as it was still daylight, and it purposely got in my face to show its dominance. In fact, it was so close I could see dark plaque buildup on its front and canine teeth. The closest image is that one that you use of a dogman's face in the grass. The first time I saw this image, it gave me instant flashbacks. The way it looked at me and grabbed me, I saw extreme intelligence in those eyes. It was blind luck that I survived. If I did not click off the safety of that shotgun or maintain a firing grip when I transferred it to my left, I may not be here today. Before I left for the medical center, I was able to look at the body after my sector partner bandaged up my arm to control the bleeding. There was not much of it left. Not much left of its face. The ears were like a German shepherd, but with tufts on its peak. The hands almost reached to its knees. The hands were massive, and the claws did not look like they grew out like fingernails, but were an extension of the fingertips. I picked up the hand, and one of the other deputies said, "Should I do that? It may be carrying diseases." I said, "We already tangled, so I'm pretty much already done." The hand felt like leather, and the claws were not sharp. But with the force they are being driven at, it could cause some serious damage. This male had what I call a slight chest puff, like a mini mane that some dogs have. The legs and feet looked how we would look if we walked only on the balls of our feet, with our heels more as a joint. Unlike a dog, this had 5 toes and not 4.
but it still looked like a larger pawed foot. There was no tail that I could see, as it was lying on its back. I stretched out its left leg and estimated its height to be approximately 8.5 feet tall. I'm not good with weight, but the feds needed 2 Kubotas to drag it out to a 3500 truck. The second Dogman or person was smaller in build than the first, but it was later found to be a female. I believe this one was trying to distract me while the male sprung its trap. She was dark brown in color. The other two appeared to be male, and both similar looking to the one I had killed. Now that the description is out of the way, I'll move on with the rest of my experience and where I had to be relocated by the feds. I was dropped off that evening to my small home. It is a nice 1,050 square feet, all brick, 2-bed, 2-bath home on 3/4 of an acre. Perfect for a single guy like myself. The nearest neighbor was about 600 yards away. My parents helped me purchase this when I got my job. My parents live in Denver. I was greeted by my small female German Shepherd, Lucy. She was happy to see me, but kept smelling me, and she kept tucking her tail. After I got cleaned up and changed, she was all hugs and kisses. The next morning, I checked in with the sheriff's office. When I pulled into the parking lot, I noticed 6 Fed vehicles and a federal armored vehicle like today's Bearcat. I went in, met with the sheriff. The sheriff handed me my commendation letter. He told me to read it carefully, as the feds were all over his office. He also told me that our federal friends were staying in town for the next few days to help the department try and locate any more bear. I went out to my car and took out the letter. Inside was a note that said, "Meet the clerk at the courthouse, name redacted." I traveled over there and met with redacted. She handed me another envelope, told me to read it right there. I opened the envelope and read the handwritten letter from the sheriff. It read as follows: "Son, I cannot help you in your time of need, as my hands are tied. I am being watched, and so are you. The agents are using you as bait. You are being followed by them. I don't think they are here to protect you. Protect yourself however you can. Do not leave and go home to your parents, as the others may come back for you. When we get through this, we can have a talk on what I know. You have 1 down, 6 more to go." After I was done reading, she shredded it and flushed it down the toilet. Over the next week, I went to all my doctor appointments, which were held in a mobile command bus by a doctor I had never seen. She was nice, but barely said a word. Agent Bob stopped by and asked if everything was okay at home. I told him everything was fine. He said to me, "Great," and on his way out, he looked back at me and said, "Trust your dog." I always carry my Glock 21 with 3 additional mags, and at home I have my loaded personal Remington 1187P shotgun, similar to the one I carry at work, but this one is semi-automatic and held 7+1. I loaded it full of slugs and set it by my bedroom door. Thank you, Pops, for the Police Academy graduation present. On night 11, I woke up at 2 in the morning. My dog's whimpering and growling. I could hear what sounded like multiple footsteps outside of my house. I had my blinds closed in my bedroom and did not want to open them. I went over and picked up my shotgun, rechecked it, clicked the safety off. I opened my bedroom door and my dog ran out in the living room into the dining area. She immediately locked on to the back window. She tucked her tail and was frozen, but it was like she couldn't decide whether to bark or run. I had a desk set up in the dining area, as this was where my computer was, and I had a small desk lamp on it next to the computer. While still in the hallway, which was dark, and around the corner, I used the mirror on the opposite wall to look in the window. I saw the head of a female dogman looking into the window with a side-eyed stare, like how a real upset dog would warn you that it was about to bite. This time I could see the golden reflection of its eyes. I whispered the command of "speak" to my dog. She went ape crap barking. I then heard both of my bedroom windows shatter, and I popped around to the hallway corner, lined up the rifle sights on my shotgun, and pulled the trigger. The window was blown outwards. I then swung the shotgun back toward the bedroom, but couldn't find anything to shoot at. Then I heard a diesel engine race up and stop. I started to hear suppressed gunfire all around my home. After a few moments, Agent Bob knocked on the door and told me the coast was clear. I saw 6 men dressed in full SWAT gear with suppressed AR-10s. Agent Bob had me walk with him to my backyard, and on the ground was a female. Agent Bob then said, "You bagged us a girl. Thanks, I needed one. They're hard to find." There were 2 more bodies in the woods just behind my house, and he said 2 got away. Agent Bob was a little more open to me now. He never said what they were other than bear, but told me that if he could eradicate them all. But people want to research, and air support would draw too much attention. He told me that I could not stay here because I'm a marked man. It took a few days, but my house was purchased by them, and I moved to a desert city. They put in a good word for me at my new department. I was quickly hired and started my new job. I am now of high rank, like brass on the collar. So, I don't want to come out as crazy. Agent Bob gave me some very specific instructions to visit my parents. One was to always fly into Denver, never drive, never go back to the county I worked or the surrounding counties. Once a year, they would ask me for some old, worn, unlaundered clothes. Agent Bob retired in 2015. He told me in one of my yearly checks. I don't know what happened in July of 2019, but I was contacted and told that any bear that may remember me have been taken care of, and all requested travel restrictions have been lifted. I will no longer be contacted by them. That's it, Jeff. You know everything I know. Cover up, yeah. For the common good, I believe so. Can they be killed? Yeah. But only if you have luck and speed on your side. Oh, and an awesome dog. R.I.P. Loyal Lucy. Finally, I feel that since everything is over now, if I tell my story, the feds are not going to care. As I'll sound crazy. The others in my group feel the same, as none of us ever signed a non-disclosure agreement. I think the feds know if we come out with our stories, we will just lose our jobs and look like kooks. Then I responded, "Hello, I would like to have you come on and share your experiences on the channel. That way people can hear you. Please let me know." Jeff, I'm sorry I have not gotten back to you in more recent time. Also, with current events, I am working nights and out on the streets. I am a lieutenant now and on promotion for captain. I plan on retiring in 4 years when I hit my 20th. I wish I could go on your show, but my voice is pretty recognizable, and I've been on TV a few times. Also, I was contacted by my last handler. Told me not to share much more than I already had, as some of what I said can currently affect their operations. I can talk with you about my incident. I cannot divulge anything related to what they are currently doing or have done recently. They are listening to your channel. Victor may be in the same organization, but that is beyond my knowledge. Agent Bob is kind of like a more serious combo of Jeff Bridges from R.I.P.D. movie and Alton Brown's impersonation of Colonel Sanders. I've always liked him, as I think he bent the rules to ensure my success in surviving the revenge attack of Dogman. When he said trust your dog, he was telling me that she would be my early warning system. I've always had a dog since Lucy. I also wanted to add that Lucy passed away of old age in 2012. Whenever I go into a wooded environment, I now carry a Glock 20 and 10mm with some really hot loads. I also carry a 4570 Marlin 1895 short barrel with 430 grain loads. Since my encounter, a few times I have camped with my family. I've been up to Montana, Utah, and Idaho. I have never run into another cryptid. Also, for insurance for myself, I still have half a jawbone recovered from the scene. I have it geocached in a location only myself and 2 other people know. If you have any additional questions about the encounter, please feel free to ask.
Guys, I hope you all enjoyed today's second half as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. From the intro, I hope at the end of this you can see what I was saying. Anyway, got to head over to the hospital and say goodnight to my pops. He is doing better every day. They think probably another five days. He'll be home Monday. They're shooting for. So I really can't wait to just know he's home. I know being in that hospital terrifies him. Just a place no one wants to be, you know. Anyway, guys, with that, stay happy, healthy, and safe. Thank you for all your support and all your prayer. And God bless everyone.